Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Next Opportunity at Work Conference. We are so excited to kick off this special week of learning, connection, and inspiration with our very first session, Nurturing Your Personal Growth, Unveiling the Power of Values in Your Career Development. I'm so happy to introduce you to our amazing webinar presenter, Lisa Laughter. Lisa is a senior career coach at UC Davis in human resources, learning and organizational development, a professional life coach, a motivational speaker with over 25 years of experience in academic advising, higher education, and career development. Lisa began her career in Washington State University and went on to become the inaugural career coach at both UC Davis and UC Davis Health. She's been a pioneer in developing impactful programs like Career Development Week, the Career Design Lab, and Clifton Strengths Trainings, all designed to help people discover their strength and move forward with clarity and confidence. Lisa holds multiple credentials, including Associate Certified Coach through the International Coach Federation, Certified Clifton Strength Coach, and ProSci Change Management Practitioner. Lisa brings all of that expertise, plus her deep passion for supporting others into every coaching session and training she leads. We're also so proud to say that Lisa is one of our incredible Now Conference Planning Committee members. She's been a key part of shaping this year's experience, and we're so grateful for her dedication and leadership. Outside of work, Lisa is a devoted soccer mom, outdoor adventurer, and active volunteer. She lives in Davis with her daughter Ellie and their dog Gary, and continues to inspire others through her work, coaching, and community engagement. Please join me in welcoming Lisa Laughter. Lisa, over to you.
Thanks so much, Jing. It's always so weird to hear yourself described like somebody talking about you. But thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here with you all today, to be kicking off this fantastic conference, and love talking about values. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So go ahead and click us to the next slide, please, Ying. So we're going to be talking about values in relation to our career journeys. So we're going to be talking about core values. Some of you may have done values work. Some of you may have heard of values, but not done any personal values work. So I expect that we may have some varied experience, which is totally fine. I like visual things. So I like these visuals as examples of what those core values might be, and then our career journeys and all the different pieces of that. So we're going to go to the next slide about what our career journeys may look like. So at least for me, I don't know about anybody else, but when I went to college and I thought I was going to do this, then I thought my career journey would look more like the picture on the left. Like I was going to do the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And the right side there is what most of our career journeys actually look like. They're a bit more squiggly than that staircase. So thinking about, we are again going to be thinking about values in relation to that, but I just like talking about career in that aspect, because sometimes we expect that they're going to look a little bit different. So, all right, next slide. So like Ying said, my name is Lisa Laughter, and I have been coaching for I think I got my certification in 2014 or something like that. So I've been coaching for over 10 years, and thinking about my values. Like I said, I'm also a visual person, so I like having pictures. So you got a picture there of me and my daughter. I was practicing with her this weekend. She's like, "Where was that from?" It was from one of her dances I was a chaperone for. Family is definitely one of my top values, is putting my family first. I'm a single mom, so it's kind of hard not to put that first. And connection, it's not only my number one strength, but it's super important to me to be connected with others and being of service. You can read that quote there. That really just describes why I do what I do and why I volunteer so much and why being of service is definitely one of my core values. And then I love that picture on the end. I don't know how that person captured that, but was doing yoga on the beach in Daytona a few years ago at a conference and just being playful. My last name is Laughter. So I work on being playful and having fun in everything that I do. So I bring my core values. Those are a few of my core values. I've got a couple of other ones. Security and kindness and curiosity and growth are also things that are really important to me. But as we're thinking about values, they're definitely those core values that when we're making decisions, we tend to make based on our core values. So we're going to go ahead and move on, and I'll be getting into that just a little bit. So I'd like you to use the chat and just take a look at this initial list. If you were to just pick 2 or 3 words that come to mind, it may be on this list, it may be not on this list, but what are 2 or 3 words that when you hear values, what are the 3 things that come to mind? Like humanistic, innovation, humility, service and teamwork, empathy, freedom, see lots of kindness, respect, compassion showing up there, gratitude, empathy, purpose, growth, lots of kindness. I love that. Courage, trust, respect, growth, authenticity, joy. Beautiful. So what I'm seeing or what I'm hearing is that just like right at the top of our heads, we can come up with some things that we know are true to ourselves, or that are really true for us. So if we go to the next slide, Ying, and if we're going to post in the chat this values activity, so it goes a little bit more in depth with I just showed you a very small list of values, but the list that we're going to put in the chat has quite a few more values. So I'm going to give us just 3 minutes. We can put a timer on for 3 minutes to and if you have the opportunity, if you ever readily available to click and print, feel free to print it. But I would imagine most of us don't have that ability right at the moment. So if you just want to use that sheet, open it up, and then write down your top values. So scroll through there and just all the things that you feel are really important to you. As you can see, the goal is to get our top 5. But if you go through, it's helpful to go through and look at what do we feel is very important, what is somewhat important, and then you can either X things out with a not important, or just don't write them down actually, and then want to come up with your top 5 values. So you can do we'll give folks 3 minutes starting now. So we'll come back right at 9:15. Okay. Hopefully you got down to that top 5. I know 3 minutes is not very much time to narrow down your top 5 values, but I'm curious if you would like to share in the chat those top 5 values. If they're different, maybe similar, maybe the 3 of the 5 are the same that you listed earlier. So feel free to put those in the chat as well. And we'll be using those in another activity moving on. So thank you very much for participating in that. So next slide, please. So it's on to offer up this idea of paradigm shift. So a framework, how we see things, like it's like the glasses that we see. I don't know, I wear glasses. I see a lot of folks wearing glasses. It's how we see the world, the framework. And sometimes we need to change the way we see things in order to change the way we do things in order to get different results. So the way that we think explains why we do what we do. And so change, often we ask, well, why aren't I getting different results? Because we don't shift the way we think about something, which then in turn, we don't do anything different, and then we get the same results. So if we go to the next slide, there's a little a visual of that. And this comes from The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. That's where this concept, or at least I heard of this concept. Maybe he got it from someplace else, but that's where I grabbed it. And I've really seen that in my own life, and where I have had to literally change the way I see things, which then changes what I do, which then in turn changes the results I get, because I was in that cycle of insanity, getting the same results over and over again. So changing the way we see things, it's the basis of the discussion around values. So making sure that we think about that see, do, get model. And thank you for folks who are listing their values in the chat. Okay, next slide, please. So like I mentioned, imagery is really important to me, visual things. And so this idea of a lighthouse, we're also going to be talking about the compass, but values are like lighthouses. They're signals giving us direction, meaning, and purpose. So it helps guide us to where we're going. And if we don't have a lighthouse, we don't have those values readily at hand, or we're not really thinking about them as much, then we get a little lost. Next slide, please. So we're going to be talking about different types of values, but our personal values, so we're going to be talking about career values, but personal values are what's important to us, and it's the characteristics and behaviors that motivate us and guide our decisions. This idea of compass versus clock is also, I got from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And I love this concept to think about what's driving your behavior. Is it the compass, or is it the clock? Is it I've got this appointment, this thing, the task that we've got to do, all the things that we've got to do on our calendar? Or is it driven by the compass? Do we really have a direction that we're going, which then dictates what we put on our calendar? So there's also a concept of big rocks, little rocks. I'm not sure if folks have heard of that concept, but I also love that too in relation to values and how we spend our time. If I was to give you a jar and gave you a pile of big rocks and little rocks, you put the little rocks in, try to put the big rocks in, they're not all going to fit. But if I give you the big rocks, you put those first and put the little rocks in, then it all fits. So the idea is, what are those core things which are tied to our values? What are the things that are most important to us that are driving us in how we spend our time? So the compass represents our mission, direction, and values, what matters most to us. And often I'll just speak for myself. I've gotten off track from that based on what other people want me to do, like what is important for other people. And then I forget, oh yeah, that's not really important to me. No wonder I'm kind of frustrated or annoyed or resentful, because I'm not holding true to my values. I'm doing something for somebody else that isn't in alignment with my values. So again, although the compass and the clock are both valuable tools, the compass really does need to come first before the clock. When you're headed, because let me say that again. Where you're headed is more important than how fast you get there. All right, next slide, please. So we've got these different types of values: personal values, family values, professional values, and societal values. So a general definition of values is the baseline of the ethical compass, and they regulate our daily behavior. So the choices that we're making based on our values establish ultimate goals that we have to achieve and how to get them. It guides our decision-making process. I really want to emphasize that guiding our decision-making process. And in relation to career, sometimes at least in my work with folks, when we bring this up, a lot of times I hear like, oh, maybe I'm not in alignment with my values or my strengths. Often it's in alignment with strengths. No wonder I'm having a difficult time getting the work done or being frustrated with my work or all those kinds of things because it's not in alignment with our values and our strengths. So one example for me being a single mom is I mentioned that personal and family values of like my kid, most important. If she was to give me a call right now, some emergency happened at school, I would have to leave. Like that is number one important. No matter what I'm doing, she comes first. Um, and I plan my work life around that, not my like. So she has a soccer game, she has things going on. Like she's most important. I plan my work around that, and that's not how I've always been. I often did put my work before, and was just like, oh, I'll get to that later. And now she's getting done with her junior year. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's almost done. Like, I don't want to lose that time with her. So figuring out what is really important. And then thinking about values at the societal level, and ensures that members interact harmoniously, making it easier to meet our collective goals that would have been impossible to attain individually. That another concept of the 1+1 is 3 in Stephen Covey's work, that working together, we can get more done than doing it by ourselves. Values help us have a dream and establish ways of attaining those dreams and equip us with a purpose in life. They're major motivating factors for us. And so when we have those well-defined goals, we tend to live more satisfying lives and know we're doing something meaningful because we know that we're in alignment with those things that are really important to us. Next slide, please. So we've got these 3, if we break down values a little bit more: core values, instrumental values, and terminal values. So that core value is a deeply held belief that influences both ends and means. So there's integrity, accountability, kindness. A lot of the things that you all put in the chat there is our core values, the fundamental values that form the foundation of our belief system. And then instrumental values are the means or behaviors to reach that end state. So, for example, setting boundaries helps me with my well-being, or logic, honesty, politeness. They guide our behaviors and interactions with others. And we're drawn to the benefits that come from our relationship with those instrumental values. And then terminal values, I wish there was a different word for it because terminal sounds so terminal. Or no, I just don't like that word. But they're basically our long-term aspirations. So a desired end state or life goal. So family security, national security, achieving a work-life balance. There are, again, those aspirations that we're aspiring to achieve. All right, now let's talk about our values with work. Let's move into that next. If you're not familiar with Brene Brown, I encourage you to look her up. She has got some really fantastic work on vulnerability. I don't want to read about vulnerability. I don't know. I love Brene Brown and her vulnerability work. But what this quote here that I chose for this specific topic is: letting go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. I don't know, I'll just speak for myself that I spent a lot of my life with the shoulds. I should do this, I should do that, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that. I even for this presentation, I tend to present more unscripted. If you hadn't noticed, there's not like exact words and exact timing that I'm going to go with, because that's just not how I operate. And other people need that exact script, exact timing, cues, that kind of thing. So I embrace who I am today more than I ever have before. And I think that's something that has been really valuable in the work that I do. So let's go to the next slide. We're going to take a look at our career values. So Ying or someone is going to post in the chat a sheet on career values. And this one looks a little bit different than our personal values. It's broken up into different categories. So let me open that up for myself. So purpose and meaning, growth and learning, integrity and ethics, creativity and expression, stability. So these are really focused specifically on values that we have at work. One of the things that I do in my career design lab is an activity where we like sort cards around our career values. And it can be difficult to come up with your top 5 career values because everything tends to seem important, just like it is with our personal values. Well, of course, that's important to me. When we think about, and they may change over time. That's the other thing. They may change over time as well. Our career values may change from when I was early career, my career values were very different than they are today. I didn't have kids when I was early in my career. I thought I wanted to be the boss. Then I became the boss and decided I didn't want to be the boss anymore because there's a lot of things that going along with the boss was not so fun for me. So I really embrace and cherish being an individual contributor. It supports my career values. So were we able to get that in the chat? That I don't see it. Does anybody else not seeing that I'm not seeing? Yeah, I don't see it either. So it might have gone. Thank you, Lisa. So we're going to open that up. I'm going to give, let's give 5 minutes to do that. Give us a little bit more time to think about our career values. And again, you can just write down the values that are most important to you out of each category. And then we'll move on with our next activity. So I'm just going to stop there, stop talking, and give you a moment to take a look at those career values. And does anyone have any issues with opening that up? Just let us know. Okay. So I just want to mention that that research tells us that when we live by our core values, we exhibit lower stress. I look at this whole list and I go, yes, please. Lowered stress, more confident, better decision-making and problem-solving skills, better attention to our health, and more willpower to persist in difficult tasks. And we have the ability to act more assertively, communicate with more compassion, make wiser career and work choices, and have enhanced relationship intimacy. Those all sound like good benefits to me. So right now we are going to go into breakout rooms, but let me just say, do not leave. Don't leave. Please don't leave. If you're not comfortable going into a breakout room, that's totally fine. You're welcome to stay here in the main room. I'd like you to continue to join us. I would love for folks to go into the breakout rooms and have a further conversation with each other about career values. But if you are not in a place to do that, either physically or just emotionally ready to have that conversation, that's totally fine. Stay here with us. And then once our team will get you into the breakout rooms. If you find yourself in a breakout room by yourself, then just hang tight and we'll pop you into another room. And then, so if you're in a room, you might notice that somebody comes in a few minutes late or just a minute late. So just have some patience around that as we get folks sorted into rooms. All right, Ying, let's open up some breakout rooms. And what are we doing? Let me say that before we open the break. What are we going to be doing in these breakout rooms? We're going to be talking about these questions that are on the screen or whatever you want to talk about. Introduce yourselves and let me rephrase that. Whatever you'd like to talk about in relation to career values. So what came up for you in looking at this worksheet? Was it easy? Was it hard? How do you feel? Like, are you in alignment with your values in the work that you're doing currently? Any questions in relation to that are up for discussion. So any questions before we go into the breakout rooms about what we'll be doing in those rooms for 10 minutes? Okay, thank you. And here we go. All right, welcome back. We have a few more seconds for folks to come back. Let's just wait for everyone just to rejoin us. If you'll just let me know when oh, there we go. I see it. 2, 1. All right, now we're all back. Great. So I'm curious if anybody would like to raise their hand and just share a little bit about what that experience was like having that conversation. If you'd be so inclined. If not, that's totally fine. Just curious. Feel free to raise your hand or just unmute. Iris.
Hi. So we did a round robin. We each picked like the top three, and then we did a we kind of ran out of time, so we went really fast. But it was just like, how do your values help you in developing your career? And it sounded like with my group, Taria, Aubrey, and Jody, that their values in like helping others and continuous learning, building relationships, making a difference and of service really is those values are woven into their work now. And there's everybody's pretty happy with, what their values match their career and they've used that and kept it sort of like their compass. I'm if so my group, sit in or whatever, but chime in. That's sort of my summary.
Thank you, Iris. I'm just curious if anybody noticed after doing this activity, like, it's interesting. I noticed that maybe the work that I'm doing isn't as in alignment with my values as I'd hoped. Anika.
Hi, sorry, I'm still getting over a cold. But I think in my group, we realized that our values actually transpired into our personal and professional lives a little bit. Learning was like the center of everything. And then we also brought in a couple of some keywords, which were trust, truth, understanding. I also kind of mentioned that mindfulness. I think that as humans, we are very selfish in a lot of ways. And I think sometimes we're not really mindful of what we see and hear around us. And I think that if the world and us are more mindful, then I think this world will be a better place where we can have more trust, hope, self-respect, gratitude, and empathy. So that's what we really kind of talked about. And I think it also kind of goes back to, I think, what we see as our younger selves, I would say in our childhood. And that I always mention to people that you have to kind of look at your trauma and wounds, and that's how you are as an adult go through life. So if we actually start there, we can see exactly how we are becoming as an adults and hopefully pass those good traits on to other people around us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anika.
Of course.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Just one note really quick. We should wrap up right at 10 o'clock. And if any of those, if anyone is in the group coaching that happens to be in my group coaching room, just know that the transition there may be just a minute or two. So I just want to put that out there. All right. Next slide. Thank you. Another one of my favorite quotes here. I've learned that as long as I hold fast to my beliefs and values and follow my own moral compass, then the only expectations I need to live up to are my own. So that by Michelle Obama. I love that quote. It talks about the compass and that we really, don't have to worry about other people's values. Let me rephrase that. Living up to our own expectations, not others' expectations, is really important. All right, so let's go to the next slide. And we'll put in the chat this decision-making handout. I don't think we have time really to do that, which is okay. But you can take this with you, this handout. And the idea is that you write down whatever decision that you're trying to make, if there's a decision you're thinking about, and then write down your core values and then how you can approach that decision so it's in alignment with your core values. So it's just a way to outline that and really think about, am I aligning my values and the decisions that I'm making, or excuse me, and the actions that I'm taking with that decision. So, that's something you can take with you and maybe do in the group coaching session or at another time. All right, next slide, please. So one thing that's really important to me when I go to presentations is, okay, what am I going to do with all this information? I go to these presentations, I learn a lot of cool stuff, and then I walk away and go, oh yeah, I learned some cool stuff, but how am I going to actually use it? How am I going to apply this? So I really want you to think about how you're going to live differently considering what you learned today. What are some examples of something that you might do differently? You can see I also not only like visual things, I like quotes. If you saw my house, you'd be like, wow, there's lots of words, Lisa. I have lots of words everywhere. Life is really just a series of decisions, a series of small changes that create great change. So I think that to me is really important to think about those small decisions that lead up to a greater change. So for example, my own career journey, there's lots of small decisions that led up to where I'm at now in the career that I'm in, that's really in alignment with all of my strengths and my values. It's taken some time to get there, and a lot of self-examination and thought, and those little decisions that have helped me get here. And then just being in the present moment and living this one day at a time can be a helpful concept. So our next slide, please. Just some additional questions to ponder, to take away. What values do you share with those around you? Which, are they similar? Are they different? Are you attracted to people that have similar values or different values? Do you talk about values? And if they're similar or different? And if your values are in conflict, how might you work through that? If you notice that some of the decisions that you've made or are making currently aren't in alignment with that, maybe what you can do to work through that. How do your values manifest in your relationships? This one, to me, also very important. What can I learn from others' perspectives? Looking through someone else's, seeing a different viewpoint. How do your values support the work that you do? And how do your values complement each other? Okay, I'm reading Mateo's suggestion. One idea I'd like to offer for keeping these ideas present moving forward is to list out your values on a virtual sticky note. Oh, on your computer. Great. So you see them every day. I have them listed in for real sticky notes. Virtual sticky note works too. I've got real sticky notes from my computer. That is a great suggestion, Mateo. I love, love, love that, to have them visual. I have my strengths and my values listed, so I remember what my strengths are and what my values are. So these, again, are just questions that you can ponder at a later time. And then the next slide, I don't think we have time to do this, but I would encourage you to find an accountability buddy, to pair with somebody to discuss at some point today, a coworker, a family member, somebody that you are in the group coaching session with, just to think about one way you're going to apply what you learned today, and then keep accountable with somebody. This is another way of making connection, meeting new people, and staying in connection around what you've committed to. Next slide. I know we need a couple minutes for you to wrap us up. I don't know if anyone has heard of James Clear or read James Clear's Atomic Habits. If someone could put that in the chat, because people will forget, like, what was that person you just said? James Clear. He does a yearly integrity report. So thinking about what the core values that drive his life and work. How is he living and working with integrity right now? And how can I set a higher standard in the future? If we go to the next slide, here's just an example of that. So how these are the 4 core values that he's listed, and then how is he in alignment with those? Where is he growing? Where is he fulfilling his potential with that self-respect? Asking some questions around that. So that's, I think there's, you can just Google that. Thank you for putting that in there, Ying, the example of the integrity report. So you can take a look at that as another way to examine your values. All right, I'll give you Ying the rest of the time. I just really appreciate everyone coming. I hope that if you go to the group coaching, you're able to explore this a little bit further. If you're not able to go to group coaching, think about these things throughout the rest of your day and this week as you are thinking about your career.